hot up here today, baby. And we're on the roof, and I'm about to go through some that I prepared and did one back into 19, to be honest, 70s, because I took my first office at 10 Coleman Square in Howard Beach in 1978 or 79, and I used this lumber to trim the front of the building out with, around the door and around the window, inside and outside. I also used this lumber to build, I put in about 20 plus windows, two huge 8-foot wide to trim around the windows. And I cut it on 45-degree angles. For my truck, for my office, and for the trim around the windows. And what the lumber was pre-stained and pre-varnished with 5 coats of McCloskey's spar varnish. 2 coats, the first 2 coats, one was thinned 25%, and the second coat was thinned about 10 or 15%, and then 3, and in between each coat, after the first coat, I polished off the hair, what is known as the hair of the lumber, because when you let that first coat of varnish suck into the lumber, hair comes up out of the wood. It, like a sponge, it expands. Then you sand that down with 120 or 150 grit paper. That's the only time the hair is going to come up when you varnish it. The second coat was thinned out 10% because the first coat went so far into the lumber it disappeared. The second coat thinned out 10%. That sealed the lumber, all sides and the ends. Then the third, the fourth, and the fifth coat went on 5% thinned out, McCloskey's Marine Spar Varnish. And it went on top of a lumber called 5-quarter white pine, seasoned white pine, and aged white pine, which is completely different than white pine. Had it been white pine, standard white pine lumber, maybe laying outside where it just was for 3 years, there'd be nothing left to it at all. This lumber is going back into 42 years old. So the lumber itself was a completely different grade of white pine, aged and seasoned. It's a seasoned piece of lumber means that the tree is many years old, and the tree had been felled for years. The tree was laying on the ground, and whatever didn't rot, that's what they made this lumber out of. So we're going to find out today. Now this lumber that I'm going to show it to you real quick. This lumber right there that you see next to the new roof on the container, that lumber has been out here under the tarpaulin, but wet for, it'll be 2.5 years since I got back from New York with this lumber, and Daisy and I stacked this lumber on the shelves over there. So it's been outside and wet under a tarp, because the tarp kept the hard weather off it, but the tarp did not keep it from getting wet. So that lumber's been out there for 2.5 years. And so far, on top of that lumber, I had the cabin of the boat I built out of. The cabin, sides of the cabin were 14-inch wide, a full 3-quarter African red ribbon mahogany, and the tops of the cabin, the ribbing of the cabin where I put the skin on the top, that was made out of the same 3/4-inch African red ribbon mahogany. That lumber is still like brand new. When we go over to the pile, you'll see that. And most of the marine lumber all the marine lumber that was fur, aircraft grade fur lumber, marine fur. It was at the time, you had aircraft grade fir lumber that had no blemishes on one side of the plywood. And then you had marine lumber, plywood, excuse me, aircraft grade plywood had no blemishes, no plugs. Then you had marine plywood, which had diamond shaped plugs in it, oval diamond shaped plugs. So what would happen is you'd pay a difference in the price, but aircraft grade plywood to make different parts for aircraft, wooden aircraft, has no plugs on one side. The other side is has plugs in it. So all that plywood is still like brand new. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Mein Hapon. And so right now I'm standing over here. I'm just waiting a little bit. I was just waiting for a little while. I wanted to start at 2:30, so it's going to start really at 3 o'clock, moving that lumber, because it's about as hot as it gets up here. And I did bring my thermal imaging tool. I brought my thermal imaging tool to test the temperatures up here. Now, it's not the hottest time of the day, but I will show you. I'll shoot a few things for temperature to let you know what the sun is bleeding out down on us. I don't imagine it's more than 100 or so degrees. 93. 93 is the white wood, 93. So let me look for something dark. I'll shoot this thing right here. I'll shoot this piece of dark lumber here. What'd you say? That's 100 degrees. So it's 100 degrees, and that's not the hottest time of the day. The hottest time of the day, that piece of wood would be about 120. A piece of dark metal, or where we're going to go right now, I can shoot it from here, is 96 degrees is the temperature over where I'm going to be working, which is why I put up the tarpaulins. I hung it from the pipes there to kill some of the sun in the afternoon. This way at least I can get from 2:30 in the afternoon onward the shade on top of this, on top of the cargo container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this camera right down here on the edge of my platform here, and then I'm going to get on my belly and I'm going to start brushing all the debris off of the now in the title it might have said 120 degrees. Well, that's what an hour ago, that's what the temperature would have been of the darker lumber. So let me get over there. I'll shoot something that's dark, and we'll check the temperature. Hey! Whoa! Did you say thank you? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, let's just shoot this right here. 120. 120. Okay, so that's 120, and the sun isn't even in the hottest time of the day. Now, I could have done it earlier. However, I was downstairs setting up for another job that I'll be doing in a day or so, and I needed to get. Well, actually, what I was doing is I was looking for chain hooks, so that when I do get into my second cargo can number 2, I know what I have in cargo can 2 that I could pick up cargo can 2 with. I know I have 1 8, 9, or 10 foot sling. Okay, and then I also know that sling, I have other cable, and I'm working on buying a piece of cable that I saw on a work truck 2 days ago on the way home. There was a truck on the side of the road. They install telephone poles, so I'm working on buying a piece of cable from the telephone pole installation people. So let me get this lumber up off this bracketing here. Let me make sure you can see it. Okay, and you can. Okay, so I'll be putting this lumber that's here in the middle of this cargo container here. So the first thing I have to do is hold on, I gotta disconnect this cable here. It's in the way. Safety first. Jerry Cantrell, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I'm just gonna be laying on my belly to get that lumber off of there. But I also have to take this piece of bamboo here, and I need to make slats to put in between the lumber. So they're little slats like this. If I decide to do that, you'll see me do it, which I do believe I'm going to do right now. I'm not sure. Okay. All right, let's see. If I put the slats down here, I think I'll make the slats first. Have to make the slats first because I don't want to put the lumber straight down on the deck. So I'm going to cut that piece of bamboo. I'm going to put the bamboo over the wheelbarrow and cut a 2-foot piece, and then I'll show you how to make the slats. As soon as I get the handsaw, which is on the other side of this ramp, la, 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 la. I got my bucket of tools. In order to make the slats, I needed my my tool belt, my pouch with my industrial dive knife, or actually it's a work knife, and I hand saw and the blower to get rid of the dust. Okay, so here we go. Well, let's cut a 2-foot piece out of here first. This is the door to the cabin cruiser that I built. This was the door and to the cabin, and this was the opening of the door, half the door. The other side had the other half of the heart in there, and it's on brass hinges that are 76, 86, 96, 106, 116, 45 years old, and the hinges still work. Go figure. They made stuff, well, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Okay, so let's cut a 2-foot piece of this. So this lumber is, I'm going to cut it just wider than the lumber itself. I'm going to cut it about 33 inches, 10, 20, 28 inches. I'll cut it 30 inches. That'll give me more, 2 inches more than what I need. No way to hold the lumber solid with that from that angle, cutting it from that angle. So I'm going to turn this upside down and lock the bamboo, lock it into place. So this is the door from the boat called the Wishing Well, and the hinges on the door still work 45 years later. And this is fir plywood, marine grade, not aircraft grade, but marine grade fir plywood. And you can see it lasted 45 years and it's still good. Okay, now this will lock down in place. That's much better. You can see that. Much better. Let's just make sure you can see, because all of this is important stuff. Oh yeah, that's, you can see good. You got to kind of work with what you got when you got what you got when you're working. Otherwise you're working with what you don't got and you ain't got nothing to work with. Okay, now it locks down into the legs. Set on the teeth of the saw is gone. It's sharp enough, but the set is gone. The offset of the teeth. Now that's the hardest thing that I'm going to do. With that, now I'll show you how to make spaces out of bamboo, how they do it here in the Philippines, and basically how it's done, period. So the first thing we're going to do is going to get a piece of wood and put it down over there. I don't need anything this big, but this is what I have available. I don't want to work off my marine mahogany. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is get a knife. Now most people use a machete, and that is the tool of choice. I just don't have one available. So I'm going to use my work knife. Okay. Then I'm going to get a piece of wood to use as a hammer. Pads. Okay. Now all this is going to be used for is put in between the layers of lumber. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn it around like this, and I'm going to put it into a already piece that's a little cracked, and I'm going to use this hammer to hammer down. I'm not going to use that anymore, and I'm not going to use that anymore either. I'm going to go get me a piece of lumber. Yeah, I am. Okay. That was my tree that fell apart. That's basically now, I'll give it to my neighbor so she can cook breakfast. Okay. Let me go get a hammer wood, some wood from the hammer wood stockpile. Now I could have used the hammer when I was setting up my tools, but I don't like smashing the back of my work knife with a hammer. So that's why I'm not using a hammer. Now if I was using a machete, I would be using a piece of wood anyway. It's the Filipino way, believe it or not. It works just fine too, you'll see momentarily. Okay, we're back. Okay. Now out of this piece I can get 3 pieces. When it actually splits quite straight down along the length of the bamboo. You'd be surprised. That's how they make the bamboo slats that you see in people's houses. The ones for the floors. They're not doing anything different than what I'm doing, except they're using a machete, and the wood itself is wet most of the time. But for the most part, all I'm doing is exactly the same way they make the bamboo furniture. And bamboo slats for the floor. Machete, straighten up a machete on a piece of wood, and I've seen people make 1,000 slats in a day like this with nothing more than a machete, a sharp machete, a piece of wood, and nothing else really, just a machete and a piece of wood. This is known as the Filipino way. You could make these as small as you want too. I mean, I'm just going to show you how I can split a piece that's 1 inch in half, and the grain is straight in the lumber. The grain is perfectly straight, so it cuts or flows down perfectly straight. And I got 2 straight pieces, a 1/2 inch. And this piece is the right size. And now we'll cut the rest of this up. I'm going to cut this in half, and then I'm going to cut those 2 pieces in half, and I'm done. Now, if this wood was wet bamboo, oh, it would be a lot easier, like way more easy. Like you wouldn't believe how easy it would be. Okay, so we're done with that. I could have done this on the workbench up there, but I chose not to. All right. So, we're going to move everything out of the center of the container, and I'm going to start putting the slats down on the middle of the cargo container. Here is some more lumber from the boat from 1976, but I bought this lumber in 1972. And the African marine mahogany is in really good shape. This is how I sealed up where the door was. This is what was holding the door to the cabin, that piece. I'll show it to you all one day in order, but not today. And in a minute, when I get this cleaned up, what I'm going to do is I'll read the comments, because I won't be reading the comments once I get down on my belly and start cleaning off the lumber. So in about 3 minutes, I'll start reading the comments. Maybe 4 minutes from now. Okay, so I'll just blow this dust off of here, and then I'll read the comments, and then I'm going to start with the lumber. And again. All right. Huh. That means we have no... What's going on here? I knocked the plug out again downstairs. Huh. Okay, not a big deal. Means we have no blower though, that's for sure. And I really do need the blower. Oh man. Oh man. It was working when I took it up here. And now it's not plugged in anymore. How did that happen? I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not going to spend any time with it now. I'll read the comments, and I'll do the wood by hand with the brush. And I am going to get that fixed tonight. That'd be the last time that ever happens. Okay, read the comments and then start moving this lumber off the pile onto the roof. Jack Thompson, as soon as I said the set on the saw was wrong, I knew you would appear. You were lurking. You're the only person, one of the few people that would know what the set on the saw was. Hey, Jack, thanks for stopping by. Okay, so Jerry Cantrell. Good afternoon, Sir Michael. Thank you, Jerry. Salamat. The pot is in the house. I will bang the pot. Thank you. Tomorrow, I'll bring the pot upstairs in case that happens again. So this lumber here that you're seeing on here, I might as well tell you what part of the boat it was. This piece right here, this was the side rail behind the passenger and the captain's seat that went to the back of the boat. From this would have been the back part of the boat, and the wide part on that end would have been behind the seat. So basically, on the gunnels, this is the water. This is the part of the boat that kept the water from splashing into the boat from where you walk around the perimeter of the boat. And this would have been the back of the boat where it was only 4 inches high, and that would have been behind the seat where it was like 9 inches high, because the splash came from the chine and the splash came from the nose of the boat. It had a splash rail on it, but the splash rail would splash it away from the boat, and the wind would splash it onto the boat, and this kept most of the splash out of the boat. That's what this board and this board did. Now the next board here, that was the side of the boat. That was the side of the cuddy cabin. And the cuddy cabin narrowed down to a few inches in the front, and then it was 12, 13 inches high towards where the steering wheel or the captain's chair was. And then I still have those two pieces. And they were curved a little bit, and they're still curved a little bit, but they kind of straightened out over years of being stacked flat. But they had a little more curve in them. They had the curve of the boat. They had the curve of I curved them two ways. And that's all 3/4 inch, full 3/4 inch African red ribbon mahogany. And that's all solid. So I'm going to bring those up now. I have more pieces to the boat, not a lot more. The pieces in the back there, over there, that was the cuddy cabin. That was the cuddy cabin that you see the arced pieces. Inside the cabin, if you looked up at the roof of the cabin, those 3 boards, not the 4th board, the 3 boards would have been what held up the roof in the cuddy cabin that you'd walk on top of or lay on top of to go sunbathing up on top. And then the 4th board over there is the piece that would have went up where the helm was to the passenger seat. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a 5th board. I guess it's either in cargo can number 2 or gone. I got to remember now. I pulled this boat apart in 1993, just before I went to Florida. I built it in 76. It lasted 17 years before it started to leak, and my dad didn't want the boat anymore, My brother didn't want the boat, and someone wanted to buy the stern drive. It was a Volvo 270T. It was worth nothing as a stern drive, but the internal gears were worth $250 to the guy that bought it. As a stern drive, it still worked, but the seals have been replaced twice, and they needed to be replaced again. That would have brought the stern drive up to working condition, but mostly the guy who bought it for the gears. The motor I scrapped out, and a lot of the boat was just thrown out because the plywood that got wet and dry in the hull would have lasted probably 5 or 6 more years. However, the petcock got clogged up with leaves, and the boat sunk on the trailer. So for the winter, there was 16 inches of water in the boat that we didn't know about, and it blew the boat apart. From the ice blew the boat apart. Had that not happened, the boat probably would have lasted 4 or 5 more years. And then I wouldn't have this lumber, because I was the one who took it apart and saved the lumber. Okay, so now I'm going to clean this area up here. Thank you, Jerry. I'm going to clean this area up here and start putting the marine lumber over towards the far side. I'm not going to stack that. I'm going to stack the 5/4 white lumber that I'm going to use for the trim for the door jambs and the window jambs. That's going to get stacked down low, and the boat lumber will be stacked up high. Okay, here we go. So this would have been the side of the cuddy cabin, and the angle and the arc of the cuddy cabin itself. I really should plug that electric back in because I really do need it now because there's a lot more debris than I had planned. So, let me go downstairs. Let me just go downstairs again and make sure the blower is plugged in, which it was when I came up here. So I have the blower in the locked on position, and now I'm going to go downstairs and shut it off, turn it on, plug it in, baby. Just, that's upsetting. It's upsetting. When you got to do stuff like that, it's really upsetting. One more trial on here. Nope. Nope. No, 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 no. The plug was somehow knocked out on the way up the stairs. I'll be up in about 3 minutes. Oh, this is not what I wanted to do. Extra trip up and down the stairs. Unnecessary. Unnecessary, to be sure. I said it the other day and I'll say it again. There was no reason at all for that circuit breaker to blow. It was not a loose plug. It was the circuit breaker went off, and that's twice. With no amperage going through it, twice it shut off. So something is wrong. I'm going to have to replace that. Here is the last one of those. Here's the fourth one of the frame that held up the cuddy cabin roof. This is the fourth one. It doesn't have any rot on it. That's a good thing. Even though this one was next to a board that was rotted, I had two pieces of wood in this pile. in the white pine pile. Two pieces of wood that were also from the 70s and the 80s, but they were not marine lumber. They were part of my bedroom shelving, because I brought my bed here with me, my water bed. But I also brought the shelving that ornamented my bedroom that I had built out of varnished lumber. So, although I won't be, those pieces of wood, of the 6 big heavy-duty shelves that I brought, 2 of them disintegrated from termites or rot, and 4 of them did not. So, I'm grateful for that. I still have half my bedroom shelving. And it was custom shelving, to be sure. Brass ornate with heavy duty. In fact, this is one of the boards right here. This is one of the shelves that I had as part of my bedroom shelf. So this piece of, and this is white pine. This piece did not get eaten by termites and has been wet for 3 years. So some wood the termites eat, and some wood they don't touch, no matter whether even the next piece over was full of termites. Some they touch and some they don't go after. I don't know what it is about the termites, but there could be 2 pieces of white pine. One they'll destroy and turn into dust, and one they won't touch. And the same thing with red oak. There could be two things made out of red oak side by side with one another, and one they'll destroy, and it'll be right up against the second piece, and they won't even touch it. I mean, they won't touch it at all. They won't go in it, they won't bite it, they won't work their way into the end of it, they won't touch it. I had left on, I forgot to take some of the hooks out of here. Yo, yo! Okay, so this is going to go with the marine lumber. Alrighty, now I have, now this is some of the white pine, and they didn't even touch this. Oh God, that's nice. So the white pine, the first piece of white pine, 5/4 white pine, they didn't touch it, even though it's been wet. And there's ants and little silverfish on this piece of wood. There's no rot. No termites, no rot. Now, one thing I will tell you is that some of the varnish the luster has worn off it, and that is from the weather. But I'm not worried about that. Being that the lumber didn't rot, this stuff is still good for making window jambs and door jambs out of it. Because you can't buy pressure treated lumber in the Philippines. Now I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have about 200 feet of pressure treated lumber that I could use for door jambs and sills. And that's worth $1,000. It's over there on the bench. But for this, for an internal door jamb, this is what I'm going to be using. Alright, this is my bed. This is a piece of my bed. And there's no termites, no rot, no silverfish, no ants on this piece. That's nice. Alright, this part is where the bed hinges together. No bugs under there. It's an amazing thing. These termites would have destroyed pieces on the bottom of this pile, and they haven't even touched this white lumber from this white pine. I don't know why. It is something they have not touched at all. Now, I could have dragged this lumber up to the other, my house and cleaned it off on the bench, but then I would have had to brought it over there and then brought it back here. I would have been moving it twice. No need to do that. Okay, that's the first part of the bed. You don't need this piece of cardboard. That's amazing. They did not eat the cardboard. Some cardboard they destroy, and apparently because the cardboard was between this lumber, they didn't even touch it. The termites did not touch it. Okay? We're not going to use this. Okay? Oh, I see a little rot here. See a little rot. Not enough to make a difference. Another year in this wet environment would have made a difference. And this is definitely termite damage, but not enough. Not enough to make it, it's still usable for a bed. Now I just need a place to put a bed. Maybe next year. Alright, I'm going to blow a little bit here. I ran across about 5,000 ants. So let's make these flying ants. Okay. Those were flying ants. Yeah, that little bit of rot probably isn't even enough to notice. A little sandpaper would get rid of 50% of that. And 50% of it, I put this piece as underneath the headboard. You'll never see it anyway. It doesn't matter. Now this, I also have the plywood. It's a special marine plywood that the bed was made out of. It's not plywood, it's pressed wood, but they use a waterproof glue in it. So it's a special grade of waterproof pressed wood. I never saw it before, and I never saw it after. Can't buy it, never heard of it, but it's actually waterproof pressed wood. That's what they made the waterbed platforms out of. Going back, this bed is from 1979. But when I took 1980, when I took my apartment on 95th Street, 1980, and I bought this was the first thing I bought, this bed for furniture. So this is now 41 years old, this lumber. And the plywood is in cargo can too. And it's just starting to get a little soft, the outside grain. And I stopped that in time. Let's make some more flying ants. They like to fly. I like to make them fly. It's free. All right, I'm gonna bring the camera down to this level so you get a better view. Now that I know what's going on over here. Huh. Okay, so Jack is the last comment. Okay, so this piece of plywood is just starting to get a little soft. The last 500ths to 1500ths of an inch. It's just starting to get a little soft where you could scratch it with your fingernail. But let that dry out. Put 2 coats of varnish on it. It'll be just like the day I bought that bed frame in 1980. No problem. And my biggest problem is going to be to buy a quality varnish here. I was looking for varnish yesterday, only because I was looking. I don't need it yet. I was looking for the best spar varnish they have, and the crap that they call spar varnish here, oh my God. It comes in 12-ounce bottles. They don't sell it in gallons like marine spar varnish. They're not in the stores I was in. So I don't know when the time comes. You would think they would sell marine spar varnish, but they not in the stores in Bohol. Maybe they have it in Cebu. Maybe that's when I'll get it. Boy, there's a lot of spiders on this board. That's good. Spiders are good. Water bugs and ants are bad. Well, not so many ants. Not as much as no termites. I mean, no termites at all yet. Just ants. And a few silverfish. A lot of spiders. Spiders are good. Spiders eat the bugs. Oh, by the way, you can't buy pine in the Philippines. It's not for sale because they don't have it here. They don't have yellow pine or white pine here. If they do, I don't know about it. And I looked, which was why I brought all this wood from America. I just made a whole bunch more flying ants happy because they were flying for free. All right, that's the 8-foot board for the length of the bed. I got one more 8-footer over there. Oh boy, this one is loaded with creepy crawlers. This one got silverfish, spiders, cockroaches, and whoa, that was a big one. Holy macaroni. There was a cockroach about that big hiding underneath this bad boy. That's what you get when you live in a jungle. All right. All right, they didn't burrow into the wood though. So whatever was there must have been a spacer between these two pieces of wood that recently disintegrated, or something I don't see yet. And the bugs brought nesting material in between the two boards because there's no damage to the wood at all. None whatsoever. That's good. Another year or so, damage would have been underway. All right, let's turn this up on an angle here. Oh yeah, there would have been damage on this part of the wood for sure, but now nothing. Alright, here's the other 8-foot piece of the bed. The bed is a full queen size bed. And I have a brand new bladder and a brand new liner in cargo can 2 for this. So as soon as I find a place for the bed will be one of the first things I install. So I'll be going from sleeping on a piece of plywood with a 1-inch mattress to an 8-inch deep waterbed. That'd be nice. It even sounds good. Okay, now here's my white lumber in 5/4 by 12-inch white lumber with minimal damage so far, at least to this side. Any damage that's on this white wood that you might be able to pick up on the camera is not structural, and it could be made into an architectural design where the whatever small rotting exists, you could sand it out or make it worse and make it part of the design of the door jamb. Either way, you'll never know the difference. There's not enough damage. It depends on how creative you are and how smart you are to be able to use your imagination to make something that somebody else might find not usable. And me personally, I would find it perfectly acceptable. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of what the various bugs and worms brought. It's mostly sawdust and pollen from the tree that's accumulated, but I'm looking at a whole series of, a whole slew of bugs that you wouldn't believe actually exist on here. Look, I'm going to show you a microcosmic of this. Right there. See those worms there? There's a lot of them. And I don't know what kind of worms they are. I have no idea. I don't have my glasses on. I just see them moving around. And I really don't care. I'm gonna do nothing more with those worms other than sweep them off here. Gone. They are gone. Let them find a new home. It's their jungle after all. I'm not gonna kill them on purpose, because they're not gonna bother me again. They didn't bother me the first time. I doubt they're gonna bother me the second time. So you could see they've done virtually no damage at all here. I'm gonna. It's the but the first 15 thousandths of this lumber is soft enough to scratch it up with my nail. So, and that's not even all wood. That's a lot of that is the I don't know, the excrement from the bugs, I guess you could say, and just moisture of pollen and leaf moisture. Either way, this wood is 42 or 43 years old, and if it didn't rot yet, it probably won't ever rot. And I knew you can't buy this lumber in the Philippines. And the lumber that you can buy in the Philippines for the door jambs, the termites love it. They eat it up like it's chocolate candy on Easter. The lumber when that was made, the door jambs in the house next door to where I lived in the apartment building next door to me. The lumber, you look at the door jambs and there would be termite dust, and you tell the landlord and he'd come up and spray the door jambs. The whole apartment would stink for about 2 weeks, and then the termites would go away for a few weeks, and then they'd come back. More, not more, but in the same location. Because all you did was kill the termites on the outside of the wood. The inside eggs and stuff hatch, and 3 weeks later you have a fresh batch. So this has had 3 years for the termites to attack, and apparently they don't like it. So if they don't like it now, they're not going to like it when I get the door jambs in the hotel. Now, I really don't have much choice to do how I'm doing this. And I'm only taking the heavy debris off this lumber. I know it's never gonna rot, and I know no matter how wet it gets in the next place I stack it, it won't rot. I know the termites won't go into it, so I'm just cleaning it up to restack it in the middle of this cargo container until I can move the cargo container and put it back on this outside shelf, which may or may not happen. Depends on what I decide to do. Okay. Now that side's done. Oh, I see more flying ants. Well, they're not flying yet, but they will be momentarily. Let's turn this around. Okay. Let's turn this around. I'm going to go to the end of that board now. Got to go to the end of the board, clean off both sides of the board on that end. Ho, 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 ho. There's a carnival down there. A carnival of bugs. Look at this. Look at this. Look at them skedaddling. They're moving. They're moving the eggs, and they're moving their houses and their storage facility. Look, there's a big egg right there. My God, look at the size of that. over there. They're all over the place. They're all over the place, and they're all about to become flying ants. Who says you can't have fun while you're working in the Philippines? This up here, put that down there like that, and I'll let you watch me make them fly, baby. Fly, Robin, fly. There you go. The problem is solved. Try doing that with a broom or without a blower. You would not be able to do that so easy. It'd be brushing and brushing and brushing and not getting anything done. Huh. You guys are gonna have to hold on a minute. I gotta get something from the other end of the container so I could move this wood. I gotta start setting the base down. Okay, I got those boards I cut. I'm going to start setting down a sub base with these longer boards. I gotta take these bedboards off of here first. Okay, I'm gonna take the bedboards from the end and I'm gonna stack them out of the way, and then I'm gonna start stacking the longboards in the center of the container. my first board ready. Alright, that's something wrong with that circuit breaker, that's for sure, because it just blew again. So that means that when I'm done cleaning up these two boards, I'm done on the roof for the day. Well,